Just sprinkled in. Yes, we love this moisture. All right, it is 6:30. We will call the meeting in order to comply with Title 6 of the Civil Rights Act 1964. Decatur County requests participants in the meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that's available on the table in the back of the room. First thing on the agenda is our minutes from March 5th, 2025. For a motion to approve it.
So maybe.
First and second to approve the minutes as they were mailed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. APC petition 2025-6, amend survey ordinance, second reading. Boy,
Guess you all had a chance to look over the amended ordinance since the last meeting. Misty Scholl and I had one small correction under section 6, or under section 3. I just changed some wording. In the past, we had some trouble with the attorneys where the wording used to say, this ordinance requires that when any professional surveyor prepares a plat, some of these attorneys wanted to argue the word when. And it's like pretty obvious. When you make a new legal description that's never been existing, you have to record your survey. So I talked with Missy, we changed the word when to upon. We'll see if that appeases some of these attorneys. Missy reworded that little section, like not A, B, C, or D, but if you see section 6 or section 3, that was the only big change we made since the last meeting here. There's something that myself and the auditors were in problems because they wanted to argue the word. That's what I thought. So I didn't know if you guys had any other questions about any of this. Happy to go over it.
Excellent. Updates.
got any questions for Andy? If not, I will look for a motion and we will send it on to the commissioners.
Make a motion that we accept the APC petition 2025-6.
I'll make a motion that we accept it also. Have a first and second to amend the survey ordinance. Have a second reading here. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? What? You, I say yeah.
Yeah, we just have one sheet, so. Mark them all. Okay. I'm seconded.
APC petition 2025-7, repeal zoning ordinance, Article 9, Section 940-3, B and C, second reading.
Nothing changed on this one. This is just removing the survey requirement to have the septic site located and reference boundary lines and all that stuff. Nothing changed.
Talked about this last month in our first reading, so if anybody got any questions for Andy about it? If not, we'll look for a motion to send it on to the commissioners.
I make a motion, APC petition 2025-7 be sent on to the commissioners.
Have a first and second for a vote on 2025-7, repealing zone ordinance, Article 9, Section 940-3, B and C. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to APC petition 2025-8. Gene Hastings is requesting to rezone approximately 2.74 acres from an A1 zoning classification to an A2 zoning classification to build a single-family detached dwelling. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Section number 915 and 920-7. The property is owned by the Hastings Family LLC and is located just north of 4954 South County Road 700 West, Greensburg, Clay Township. Mr. Hastings, take the podium. Tell us what you're looking to do here.
Just wanted to put a house up there, a barn lot we're not using anymore, basically.
Do we have? Right.
I'm not right.
So where the arrow is there, what we're looking to.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just north.
yeah, well, in, basically.
Our goal is to bring employees back to the farm to work to make more for them.
That across from where Mary lived.
And also,
Any
Questions or comments from board members? Not hearing any. Adjoining property owners, any questions or comments? Not hearing any. I will look for a motion.
Make a motion to accept petition 2025-8.
Second. Have first and second for a vote on 2025-8.
I'll say this.
I'll just keep.
Try this again.
Yeah, we did. No.
Okay. Proposed petition, Reed Scotsman, yes. Sheila Burton, yes. Tom Howard, yes. Brett Sheedy, yes. Tom Cherry, yes. Frank Miller, yes. Paul Stone, yes.
Petition carries. Stay in contact with the office through the building process and good luck.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
APC petition 2025-9, John Martha Allaby for Richard and Kimberly Redelman is requesting to rezone approximately 100 feet by 100 feet from an A1 zoning classification to an A2 zoning classification to build a communications center. This request falls under Decatur County Ordinance Section number 923. The real estate is currently owned by Richard Charles Redelman and Kimberly May Redelman and is located just west of 247 East County Road 500 South, Greensburg in Marion Township. John?
Yep.
Explain to us what's going on here.
Yeah, John Marsletti, working with Verizon Wireless and Tower Ventures. Tower Ventures is looking to construct that tower at the described property as Verizon Wireless as their anchor tenant. Verizon basically determined that there's a significant service gap in the area. The nearest tower is probably well over 3 miles away, a little bit further north, closer to Greensburg here. So basically, Tower Ventures is looking to construct a 299-foot self-support tower. The height's been approved by the FAA, and if they were to go any shorter, then they would basically need another tower in the same vicinity. The height is basically determined to communicate with the other towers in the area. They are building it to accommodate multiple wireless carriers, so T-Mobile can go on as needed. Yeah, it's right now, we are looking to just rezone that 100 by 100 area, our compound, from A1 to A2.
Questions or comments from board members?
Map of the cell site spells it out pretty good. So it's right in the middle of the hole.
Yeah, that portion of the county just lacks a little bit of coverage.
Yes, it does.
I think we also provided photos in so you can see the actual tower from different locations as well.
Closest resident is the Redelmans, is that right?
That's correct.
Just down.
Yeah, and their residence, their closest structure is, their closest structure there is 1,152 feet away from the tower.
The next.
The next nearest residence is across 500 South, through that wooded area. There are some smaller farm structures around 600, a little over 600, but the nearest residence on the side of 500 South is 1,500 feet away.
Yeah, that's where it's just a little gap in the tree. Can't hardly tell it's there.
Question and comment from board members? Questions or comments from adjoining property owners?
Yes.
Go to the microphone, state your name.
Jason Russell. I'm on property owner for 190 East County Road, 500 South, directly across the street from both sides. First off, I don't necessarily agree that it's 1,000 feet since my house and residence are in front of the garage structures. Barn structures. So I am just off the driveway, just behind, maybe 500 to 600 feet from the road.
So where is it at up here now?
Oops, here's a pointer.
So
One of them's a flashlight.
I'm located. So you come down the hill, the drive goes by. So it's this structure. The garage is where it's not.
It was that white outlet right there with the arrows pointing.
That's the house.
Yeah. Our surveyor said it was 1,469 feet.
Okay. So
You just, I want to make sure we're clear on that. So your estimate is what, 500?
I don't think, I didn't think it was 1,000 feet away based on, but obviously I was using iPad survey tools. I was just
Okay.
using Google Maps.
Okay.
I was checking, but it's profile straight. I was measuring around 600, 700.
Okay.
So the biggest problem I have with this is the distance to my property and the distance to the conservation buffer. There's plenty of space out here away from non-residential within the property that this could be located. The FCC guidelines that are used were developed in 1996 for short-term exposure to high intensity or burns. It wasn't for long-term exposure to RF, especially 5G RF. There was a FCC tried to roll this regulation in 2023. It approved again. It was challenged in court by the Environmental Health and Trust in the district court in Washington, D.C., U.S. Court of Appeals, and they found against the FCC that they did not adequately define or take into account new medical research that we've done since 2000 that shows increases in cancer-causing agents within 500 meters or 60 of a cell phone tower. I understand in some areas, like developments in cities, it's hard to defend that, but given that we're out in this country property, and there's plenty of opportunities on the property to be 1,600 feet away. I would propose that they look at moving this to at least that distance. back. One of my major concerns, is that we bought this property, we live out there to get away from some of that with our young children and exposure, since children are at a much higher risk because their shells haven't fully built. It's also the same reason I don't allow my children to have cell phones. Right? I'm at 6. I'm also worried about the fact that the conservation club throughout the spring, summer, and fall are a constant activity for families and younger individuals. I would hate to see the fact that we have the potential to move this to a safe distance for everyone, while the federal regulation catches up with the new research that has been done suggesting this. Not taking advantage. So I do have some documents here that have cited several studies that support this. Sorry, not as organized as I should be. We've been out of the country. We just got back in a couple days ago. So the study from Pearson in 2020, limiting liability with positioning and minimizing negative health effects from cellular phone towers. Their study showed 500 meters. So it's a good safe distance. There are in 2017, Zolman Seum published in the Electromagnetic Biology and Medical Research found that changes in the blood considered biomarkers that are predicted for cancer. They found this in people living closer to cell arrays. In 2021, Rodriguez published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, found that higher exposure to cell arrays was linked to higher mortality from all cancer, specifically lung and breast cancer. In 2018, Mayo published in the American Journal of Medical Health, they linked higher cell tower exposure to delayed fine and gross motor skills, spatial working memory, and attention in school adolescents. In 2021, Lopez published an environmental research link, high exposures to more severe headaches and decreased. The the companies themselves have addressed this, such as Verizon, in which in their own terms, for Verizon Mobile, they describe the gamma radiation from cell towers as pollution. They also, in their 10K, sort of to all stockholders, state that we are subject to significant amounts of radiation, which could require us to pay significant damages or settlements. In addition, our wireless business also faces personal injury and harm that lawsuit relating to alleged health effects of wireless phones and radio frequency transmitters. We may incur significant expenses in defending these lawsuits. In addition, we may be required to pay significant awards for settlements. That was a shout in 50. Oh, shareholders. There are several other things that I can go through, but I like to see what you guys' thoughts are there, or if you want to present any more findings. But really what we're asking is that just be moved back to that state.
And you feel that's moving at 31 feet.
By my calculation, I'm about 600-700 feet away. By what he said was 1,000, so it'd be 600. Based on the latest 500, 1,600, 1,500,
1469.
1469. Okay. So that's to my home dwelling, not the property.
And that's just, sorry,
Where my kids play. So I would prefer that to be from my property.
but that's basically that measures from tower leg, so the nearest tower leg. So, and then again, the antennas are at a 290-foot height, so I'm not sure if the map for 290 foot to, for yours is, if they, that it may be just off again.
Right. The 290 feet doesn't bother me. So I'm supposed to say 150. They had a good dispersion. So
Sure.
I understand that.
And we could submit Verizon's EME reports, which is their own engineer that shows basically how it's collected. I don't know the actual standing for it, but it'll show like what it spreads out to. And that would hit your residents over there, but obviously you can get that report.
Hey, Todd, can we take a recess? Because I feel like I need to talk to Missy about the advertisement on it. So
Yep.
we take a short recess and go out and make a phone call.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you. I guess I'm sorry when I said for my residence, I really meant for my property. Because my kids are out playing, so it's like checking 5 cell phones there.
Right.
If they were running around.
Structure though. So.
This will the decrease of property value.
Oh, that's true. The average of 10% decrease in property value. So.
The way we use cell phones now, I mean, find that it's realistic to, and I have children too and love them to death, want to do the best thing for them. You should feel like realistically we can keep our children at that safe distance all the time.
Well, I think there's a large difference between the radiation, cell phone, and a high level radiation, living on a cell phone tower.
That's the point. But my point is the amount of towers that we just don't realize exist.
Yeah, when you look at this tower map, there's a dozen towers.
I understand. I understand, and there's significant litigation being done against a lot of things. February 2025, Crystal Lake Township versus APC Towers. Michigan, they're suing the city to revoke the zone. Property. That's that, folks. And I'm not saying we can't win a case because no, it's not realistic in cities, but in this case, there's a lot of open ground. from not only my property, the roads and the. Sure, so.
You're on recess right now.
Yeah. Obviously, in this case, we have the ability to move it back to what's the best of our knowledge right now, and it's the safest.
I just really hadn't thought. You brought something to my attention that I hadn't given much thought to personally, so I'm just trying to
There's been very little research on
get
it.
that through my head. I know is how many, what they told me that cell phones won't work. It wasn't one every 3 to 5 miles. I don't know if that's correct.
All depends on terrain and literally the leaves on the trees, but it's basically, you can see the tower, it can see you. You can't see it, they don't see it.
And I understand there's limited coverage out there, but I'm a Verizon customer. I get coverage in my house, so. But
Yeah.
I understand. Because I think that there's a tower in Greensburg, there's a tower in Westport.
Right, they're a little over 3 miles away. And I just think how like 500 sound is a little bit more difficult families or it's low, and so there are probably, you hit a dead zone. So they're just trying to
Right, and
limit that.
I live in the bottom of that dip and get coverage on my property. I understand I can't get high-speed internet with Starlink, but that's something that I accept. Looking out there to get some of this. There's been very little research done in the 5 years. What little research has been done shows it's 1% higher frequency emissions than what.
Okay, well, that tower looked like the one right here in town.
Yes, self-support flat style tower.
Yeah, and my wife, anywhere, depending on where it is, anywhere from 2% to 10% property value decrease when one goes up next to property. That is important, but it's kind of secondary to the LFS. Sorry. There are a few articles here. If you want. So, a couple other things that I should probably mention is most insurance companies carving out areas of coverage for EM emissions. They classify it in the same category as asbestos and lead. World Health Organization is so that the radiation was hazardous, possibly cause cancer cause. And as we get more technology, you see a dramatic increase in cancer rates, right? We all know something's coming.
I thought it was food.
Well, preservatives don't help, right? Goes back to the Kennedy, Red 11, right, where they banned it in makeup 21 years ago, put it back in food. Makes a lot of sense, right?
The Europeans banned lead-based paint in the 30s and 40s, and we didn't do it in the 1970s.
The other fact is that the International Association of Firefighters, they adopted a policy that there no cell phone base stations on their fire stations. They adopted that policy back in 2014. They're not taking it anywhere. And they're completing studies to its effects from their facilities on. I find this interesting too. Gives you time. So that is a map of the radiation penetration of the brain for a 5-year-old, 10-year-old, and an adult for a 30-minute cell phone conversation. have been linked to two potential tumors. I'm not opposed to the tower. I know we need it. You know, it's just location if we can find something better.
I don't care.
Okay, so we had this on the phone. So on the public advertisement, the subsection on the ordinance was incorrect. It should have been 925-5. And then the variance subsection of the height should have said 30 feet to 299 feet. So we need to table this so that, because we need to re-advertise it correctly. And then at that point, maybe we should set up a tech review. We're having a tech review meeting on Monday, and then maybe we can discuss the distance discussion that was happening earlier. So that means that the BZA would also be tabled as well. And Missy, our attorney, she's on there side. Is that accurate, Missy?
Yes, it is. Yes. It was brought to our attention that the advertising was not stated properly, which we definitely want to have that corrected. And I think there are some options to maybe look at some different placement that might alleviate some of the concerns that are being presented.
Well, that being said, I will look for a motion to table.
So move.
Have a person second to table APC petition 2025-9 to our May meeting. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion is tabled. You want this back or? you-
No, yes. You very much. Sorry, it's a little haphazard, like I said. I found out today.
Well, it's not bad.
Because-
Yep. Paperwork. That is the last thing on our agenda, so unless somebody has something else, I will look for a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Adjourn.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for bringing things.
Just turn them up. Dave Ritter's was last fall. Dave Ritter's was last fall. It's your third class. Yeah.
Exactly, but you.
That was September.
They're actually. Yeah, you're not gonna. Okay, Darren. Oh, this time. No, no, no.
Love to help you. Yeah. I like to make me always talk a lot. Not a commander.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, they will.
Right. I did. Been there, looks like. APC didn't really ever take that job. Yeah. You want to do it? That was, he just was, working things. Yeah. Busy. Always great. I'm just. Where we take all right there. Forms in the back of the room, please do so. First item on the agenda is approval of the November 6, 2024. We've all received the minutes. Are there any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, I will take a motion to approve minutes.
We approve the November 6th minutes.
Approved in second, approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. It's approved. BZA petition 2025-2 has been tabled for correction of advertisement and will be on the May agenda.
That being said, there are no other items on the agenda for today.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn. We talking about it.
I want to stand up, and say something.
I know, we should.
I didn't open it up a public comment.
You didn't ask the public for any comment.